Foodle was a poodle who loved to cook. He'd cook great food without opening any recipe book. Chef Foodle would cook with amazing flair. Each dish of his was special and cooked with utmost care. Pastas he would coat with heaps of sugar and sprinkle salt on cake. Or sometimes he'd bake or just whip up an oniony garlic shake. He would batter and fry and then chop and stew. He could mish and mash or sometimes roll, toss and brew. A bunch of friends would turn up to try his fabulous dishes. They loved everything he whisked for them as per his wishes. One day, Happy Potamus suggested he open a cafe as it would be a hit, and Mangolin found the perfect spot for it. Cheesta agreed to build a cafe, but for the tables and chairs. "We'll make them nice and really sturdy," insisted the bears. Scowl the owl said he'd work hard, not be just a guest. While Songoose insisted the name Foodle's Cafe would be the best.
"It's gonna be a lot of hard work running a cafe,"
someone said. "Let's find him a manager," said Scowl instead. Kaboom the Baboom added, "How about Rabbit by Bit, as he is good with plans?" "That'll be great," said Foodle. "He can plan while I cook the flans." They gathered at Mangolin's mango orchard, eager to build and begin. By month's end, it was ready, and his friends looked forward to dig in. On his first day, asked Rabbit by Bit,
"Where's the menu? A cafe can't run without one."
"What's a menu?" asked Foodle. "I didn't know there was more to be done." Now, he said to Foodle, "You can't go crazy and cook in a flurry. No more salt to your ice creams or sugar in your curry." Rabbit by Bit was firm, and Foodle understood. The others nodded, not sure the menu was going to be any good. The next day, the animals were excited. Foodle's Cafe was opening soon, and most of them began to head there way before noon. The bears, Scowl, and Happy Potamus entered in a group of 4, while Piggy Wig and Cheesta tried an orderly march towards the cafe door. The cafe's kitchen had Foodle dressed in his apron and new chef's hat, swinging his ladle this way and that, glasses perched on his nose, and a booking list in hand. Rabbit by Bit cleared his throat to make an announcement grand. "Do you have a booking?" he asked. "No," Scowl said. "Next," he shouted, and Kaboom sadly shook his head. Asked Rabbit by Bit again, "Is there anyone who's booked a table here?" And they all looked at him dazed and completely unclear. "What is a table booking?" questioned Happy Potamus, totally confused. The animals didn't know what it was, and they weren't amused. Said Rabbit by Bit then, "No one has booked and my list is empty for brunch. I let you all in for now, but you have to book a table if you want any lunch." So they all nodded and pushed through the door and in, made their way, much to Rabbit by Bit's distress and dismay. As they settled on the chairs, Rabbit by Bit pointed to the wall. There was a board which had the day's specials listed for all. Solar Bear began to read the list and immediately gave out a yelp.
Where is my regular sweet chocolatey biryani?
He cried, looking for help. And I want a spicy cupcake with an extra dose of chili, clapped excitedly ABC the bee.
You'll have none of that,
Rabbit by Bit yelled, and all the animals by his words were repelled. Meanwhile, Foodle cooked and cooked in his kitchen, completely unaware. Busy with a list of things Rabbit by Bit had asked him to prepare. Everything was listed and the ingredients placed in exact order. Poor Foodle wasn't allowed to imagine nor cook in his style of complete disorder. Then once he'd served the meals, Rabbit by Bit stepped back to see if the animals liked what they've eaten and whether they were filled with glee.
Ew!
Sizzly Bear let out steam, as he couldn't eat sushi without the usual cherries and cream.
Nah!
Hoinked Piggy Wig, as his tiramisu had neither salt nor cumin, and now Piggy Wig was fuming.
Oh dear!
Mangolin shook his head as he eyed the fruits missing from his noodles and the vegetables from his strudels. Cheesta longed for sweet kebabs and salty chai. Scow was horrified to discover his burger had no jam and was ready to cry. Songus thought it wasn't at all funny, as the nachos he'd asked for had no caramel nor honey. The animals couldn't eat any food and were terribly in doubt. Disappointed, they began to make their way out. The next morning, Foodle arose ready for another day, and Rabbit by Bit took his spot at the door, ready to have his way. Foodle waited and waited some more, but no one came in through the cafe's door. Chef Foodle wondered aloud, maybe they are held up somewhere. With no one in it, Foodle's cafe looked completely empty and bare. Why isn't anybody here yet? Wondered Foodle, beginning to fret. After a sleepless night, Foodle hoped the new day would be fine. He was sure today his friends would come in and dine. So he brushed aside his worries and put on his chef's attire and cheer. But midday, he said to Rabbit by Bit that his worries were turning to fear. As 10 minutes tick-tocked on the clock, Foodle began to panic and tried to hide his shock. Said Rabbit by Bit to Foodle,
They'll be here any minute now, I'll bet.
But no one came, and it was already sunset. That moment, Foodle realized he needed to send Rabbit by Bit packing.
Off you go! I don't want your services anymore!
Foodle gave him a sacking. He shouted out to the hare,
Don't forget your planners and your lists!
And between his words showed Rabbit by Bit his angry fists. Then he headed to the day's specials board, and on it he wrote, Your favorites are back, and placed it outside for everyone to note. No sooner had he done that, Happypotamus and Cheetah rushed in. Then Songoose, Solar, and Grizzly Bear, Scowl, and all the others dashed in. Now, there were no more table bookings or a rabbit being bad. And they waited eagerly as Foodle began to cook. Oh, they were glad. Foodle grinned and slathered ice cream on his omelets with a large spoon, then drizzled tomato ketchup on his baklava and gulab jamun. The food will be ready in a real snap. The chef's words and the delicious smells made them all clappity-clap. Foodle's Cafe is a place that no one can beat. Be sure to visit as Chef Foodle will cook you a yummy treat. The end.